Hello, I Anand Jain from Hanumangarh, Rajasthan welcomes you to your favorite Shridevi Classes YouTube channel where we inculcate interest, confidence in science, engineering and architecture subjects. Today in our playlist Green Building from Architecture we'll understand the concept of EIA, that is Environment Impact Assessment. In this video we will introduce the concept of EIA, we'll understand EIA legislation functional in India. The procedure for EIA is explained in this video, and we'll also understand the significance of EIA for sustainable development. The evolution of urban spaces all around, great development of various nature of infrastructure and the changes in resource consumption pattern directly affected our ecosystem. The rapid population growth, advancement in living standard and concurrent expansion in infrastructure all have significantly altered our environment, and this alteration often surpass the natural resilience capability of our environment, and these changes are noticed as climate change world over, and this has raised serious concerns among all decision makers all through the world. EIA, Environment Impact Assessment, is a systematic and interdisciplinary process that include social, economic, cultural impacts on socio-economic realms, and in biophysical realms it include impacts on water, land, air, health conditions and other biosphere. Environment impact assessment is used globally to predict and assess potential environmental consequences, and it suggests mitigation and management tools to counter those environment impact before undertaking the construction project or development in action. EIA aims to anticipate, avoid or minimize adverse environmental impact, and at the same time it maximize positive contribution of any project. So we can say EIA is a integral part in decision making for sustainable development. Environment impact assessment of building construction projects predict all environmental impact of different component of construction activities. EIA suggests ways and means to reduce adverse impacts. When environment impact assessment is practiced to the best conditions, it identify all environmental risk. It also foster community participation in reducing conflict in environment management. It minimize and mitigate adverse environmental effect. It improve decision making and provide required information to decision maker, and a good environment impact assessment should also advocate the environmentally sound projects. Let us understand the condition of environmental regulation in India. In India, the Central Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, MOEFCC, is the key governing body that is responsible for all environment related regulation and for the protection and control of pollution. The environmental regulation in India are covered under three legislations. The first among those is Water Act, Water Prevention and Control of Pollution in Water Act of 1974. Then in 1981, the Government of India announced the Air Act, the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act. And finally, in 1986, Environment Protection Act was passed by our Parliament. Now all these acts are enforced, and all pollution related prevention and control activities are managed by Central Pollution Control Board of Government of India and their nodal state pollution control boards. So Indian Parliament passed Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act in 1974, and the Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act was passed in 1981, and Environment Protection Act was passed by Indian Parliament in 1986. The first environmental impact assessment of this world is related to DDT powder. DDT is dichloro-diphenyl trichloroethane, and it was developed as first modern synthetic insecticide in the year 1940s. It was initially used with great effect to combat malaria, typhoid, and other insect-borne diseases, as it was proved to be a very good insecticide. But soon its broad use all through the world led to the development of resistance by many insect pest species, and noticeable environmental impact are found related to DDT overuse. And in 1972, studies has proved DDT as a probable human carcinogen, and its use is restricted. In India, the environment impact assessment got its inception in the year 1978, and initially it is focused on river valley projects, and EIA is looked after by Department of Science and Technology. But after Environment Protection Act, the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change in India made environment clearance mandatory for specified development projects in 30 categories through a notification issued in 1994, and this notification is known as Environment Impact Assessment Notification of 1994. Now the same notification is also amended in the year 2006 and finally in year 2020. For environmental clearance of developmental projects in India, the environment impact assessment of projects fall into two categories, category A project and category B projects. The projects which are having interstate relationship or are concerned with central government's subject matters, they will got required environment clearance from Union Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and for that their application should be appraised by Impact Assessment Agency of Central Government, and finally the project is appraised by Expert Appraisal Committee EAC of Central Government, whereas category B projects are taken care by State Environment Impact Assessment Authority SEIAA, and in both cases the process involve detailed documentation including project plan and all related forms, and after thorough appraisal process any project can be given environmental clearance. So in India, for environmental clearance of project, category A projects will get environment clearance approval from central government, from Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, whereas category B projects are further classified as B1 projects and B2 projects. B2 projects are such projects which are exempted from environmental clearance, and after submission of report under B2 category, project will get necessary clearance, whereas B1 project need approval from State Environment Impact Assessment Authority, and Expert Appraisal Committee of State will issue environmental clearance to such B1 project. The primary goal or objective or purpose of Environment Impact Assessment EIA is to identify, predict and assess the potential impact on environment by concerned project, and it play crucial role in anticipating all impact on environment and human life before any project is initiated, and for that it predict and evaluate ecological, economic, social effect of project related activity, and in scope the detail of all type of environmental impact are assessed. And the purpose of EIA is to mitigate, reduce adverse effect of project on environment through better decision making, and it identify legitimate options available in project to mitigate environmental adverse effects, and it will promote a environment friendly long term growth to balance economic growth with environmental concern as required in sustainable development. Environmental impact assessment of any construction project or any infrastructure, mining or industrial project all focus on various areas that include biodiversity, land use, water resources, impact on air quality, noise conditions, waste management, and various social and economic impact. The process of environment impact assessment is meant to assess projects' adverse impacts and resilience of nature for climate change. In environmental impact assessment, we observe all input consumptions in project during its construction of building project and then its operational use. Input consumption inventories of energy resources, whether it is secondary electric power or primary crude oil or natural gas, all mineral resources, renewable resources are considered, and what output discharge is produced or and released by building operation and construction are also considered. And as environmental impact assessment, depletion of natural resources, CO2 emission and impact on global warming, acid rains, all are quantitatively analyzed based on data of input consumption and output discharge during building construction and building operation. For any construction or infrastructure project, the process of environment impact assessment is very systematic. Once the project is identified, following 8 steps are followed. In first stage, screening of project is done, and if it require environment impact assessment for that project, the scoping will decide size and impact, term of reference, and then impact assessment is done. And to reduce impact, mitigation strategies are developed. Then this report is placed to expert appraisal committee, and EAC review that report and call public hearing, and after reviewing and necessary correction, decision making of project is done. And when project is executed, the compliance, enforcement of environmental act and environmental auditing is done in monitoring and enforcement stage. So it's a 8-stage process of screening, scoping, impact assessment, mitigation, report preparation, review, decision making and monitoring. Screening is first stage of EIA process, and this screening determine if environment impact assessment for that project is required or not. If screening suggests that EIA for that project is not required, then it can start its activity. Otherwise, we have to follow up other stages of environment impact assessment, and that project is studied for scoping. And in scoping, we identify key issue of environment impact and study the periphery and size of those impacts. Then impact assessment is done in third stage, and project activity is studied for all its effect on environment and society. Then all assessed impacts are analyzed, and how we can prevent, reduce or compensate those impacts by corrective measure is discussed or studied in mitigation stage. So first 4 stages are screening, scoping, impact assessment and mitigation. After scoping, impact assessment and mitigation, a report is produced for appraisal by experts, and in that report, documented findings of environment impact as statements, EIS, environment impact statements are presented to experts of decision maker and for public hearing. Now the expert committee take a review of environment impact assessment report and evaluate sufficiency of information, and accordingly make an informed decision on the project. And after decision making, if any amendment or changes is done in project, that are executed and project is implemented. And in implemented project, compliance with national standard is monitored, and all suggested mitigation measures are implemented by enforcement activities of Central Pollution Control Board, and that project has to produce the regular environmental auditing as required for that particular nature of project. So for any identified project, first stage is screening, and if environment impact assessment of project is required, then next steps are scoping, impact assessment, mitigation, report writing. then review and public hearing, and as per expert committee recommendation, appropriate decision is made, and if project is implemented, then monitoring and enforcement is also undertaken for that project. After scoping of project, when all environmental impact are anticipated and all mitigation measures are assessed at an early stage during the planning phase of the project, it will ensure a very environmentally sensitive development. Now, environment impact assessment also integrate the opinion and say of all stakeholders that are related to target project, and the project also has to obey all regulations which are in force. The new environment impact notification emphasizes that process of EIA also need public consultation, and it emphasizes public hearing for the draft proposal of EIA report. So environment impact assessment integrate the perspective of all stakeholders and adheres to the regulation which are pertinent to the proposed project construction activities. Environment impact assessment is conducted in two main forms, rapid and comprehensive impact assessment, and this classification of impact assessment as rapid or comprehensive is based on severity of potential impacts associated with project activity. The rapid environment impact assessment is undertaken for projects that are expected to cause limited adverse impacts, and it involves collection of data and other information for a single season of around 3 months, and that season exclude the monsoon season for our Indian climatic conditions. So rapid EIA got a shorter time frame of about 3 months, whereas in comprehensive EIA is conducted over a year, and definitely it is meant for those projects which have good amount of adverse environment impact, and it entails detailed data collection for 3 seasons. Again, it exclude monsoon season. Typically, this comprehensive form of environment impact assessment is for those projects which are expected to cause more severe or a series of adverse impacts. So it need a comparatively longer time frame for assessment activity. Now the authority which is responsible for issue of environment clearance, the EAC of Pollution Control Board, for category A project, central government, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, or the state level pollution control body determine whether for the proposed project we have to conduct rapid EIA or comprehensive environment impact assessment. How environment impact assessment is appraised or environmental clearance is issued got a standard procedure. The final environment impact assessment report and other relevant document after review and public hearing are submitted by project promoter to concerned regulatory authority, and these documents should be scrutinized by concerned regulator within 30 days from the date of its received, and this scrutiny is done as per the term of reference mentioned in notification. And during that appraisal process, every application shall be placed before expert appraisal committee of central government for category A project and state expert appraisal committee for category B project for its appraisal, and EAC should complete all its formalities within 60 days from the date of its received, when the complete report with all relevant document is produced in regulatory authority. Once a project got environment clearance, it got validity for certain specified time period, and the specified validity period after environmental clearance by regulating authority depends upon the type of project. For mining projects, this validity of environment clearance is got maximum 30 years duration, and for river valley project, this environment clearance is valid for only 10 years, and after 10 years the project again has to apply for environmental clearance with the same procedure. And for all other projects, the validity of environment clearance is only 5 years. What are the key challenges for environment impact assessment in India? In India, environment impact assessment implementation faces good challenge due to lack of timely and reliable environmental data. These data are multidisciplinary in nature and require good efforts from experts, and the diverse data which are required for any environment impact assessment are not centralized in a single organization. So to produce a comprehensive EIA report for environment clearance need all requisite data collection, and that become a time consuming and costly task for timely and reliable reporting. Nowadays, to achieve sustainable development goal, EIA environment impact assessment become a well recognized tool for that. Environment impact analysis involve identify and prediction of all potential environmental impacts at project design stage or at planning stage, and it also address those adverse impacts so that to mitigate and reduce their effects before final decisions are made. And in good environment impact assessment, sound mitigation measures are proposed to avoid, reduce or minimize negative impacts on environment, and this will ensure sustainable development and public health. Sound environment impact assessment also highlight all positive impact of project. We hope this beautiful learning video has improved your understanding about environment impact assessment. Now you could understood what is legislative position of EIA in India, the various process stages of EIA, and importance and purpose of EIA is also described in this video. Our other learning video of the same playlist are equally useful to enhance your green building understanding. If you found this work useful, do like it, and you can also share it to your friends. Happy learning. Have nice time. Thank you very much.